Good morning, class. Today we are working in Lesson 10, our Reader's Notebook, pages 115 and 116. Today we're going to be working on direct quotations and quotations from text. A direct quotation presents the exact words of another writer or a speaker. A direct quotation is enclosed in quotation marks. The first word of the direct quotation is capitalized. The end punctuation of the quotation, being the period, the question mark, or the exclamation point, appears before the ending quotation mark. So that means it's inside the quotation marks. An example would be quotation mark. Look at the look because it has a capital L. Look out for cougars as you drive through the park, exclamation point, and then the ending quotation mark. Place a comma between other words in the sentence and the direct quotation. So if somebody is speaking, for example, the ranger said, comma, and then you put quotations around what the ranger actually said. Look out for the cougars as you drive through the park. Another way you might see it written would be, look out for the cougars as you drive through the park, comma, the ranger said. In our activity today, we're going to practice adding commas and quotation marks where they're needed. If you can look at this here, you can see you can kind of cheat a little bit and see where you're going to need your commas because they leave a space for you. Your commas and quotation marks, they leave space where you can kind of see it. But I want you to actually pay attention to what you are reading as you work through this. I have blown it up a little bit so that you can see it a little easier. Number 1. We're adding quotation marks and commas as needed, and it says, Uncle Robert exclaimed, I would love to visit Big Bend National Park. Well, the first thing I need to do is figure out, what did Uncle Robert actually say? Well, the quote, what he actually said was, I would love to visit Big Bend National Park. And so quotation marks need to go around the outside of that. And remember, I need to separate the quote from who said it, and so my comma is going to go after the word exclaimed. Let's look at number 2. He said, comma, this is one of the biggest desert areas in America. Well, we already have our comma there, but we still need to add in our quotation marks, and those go around the direct quotation or what he said. This is one of the biggest desert areas in America. And so you add your quotations that way. I'm going to have you continue on and finish 3, 4, and 5, adding your quotations and commas where needed. In the bottom piece, you have some speaking that's happening and some quotation marks and commas needed to be added. Actually, I think the commas are already in there. You just need to be adding the quotations where they belong. So, Uncle Robert said, when I was walking in Emery Peak, I saw a large animal running in the distance. I knew right away it was a cougar. Well, there's a large chunk of speaking, which is a direct quotation, what Uncle Robert had said in those couple of sentences, I should say. Uncle Robert said, then I have to have a quotation mark to begin his speaking. When I was walking on Emery Peak, I saw a large animal running in the distance. I knew right away it was a cougar, and then I have my ending quotation mark right there. The next one is Rachel. Rachel interrupted him, comma, weren't you scared? So now you've got to figure out the next few sentences, where do the quotations belong? And your commas are already there for you. So figure out where your quotations go and add them in. You can go ahead and pause the video here and complete page 115 and hit play again when you're ready, and we'll move on to page 116. Page 116 is quotations from text. When you include parts of another text in your work, copy the words exactly and include any internal punctuation marks. Then enclose the quote in quotation marks. For example, when you're reading, you can see here that you have an author's quote, and what the author said was, the experience was a once-in-a-lifetime thrill. So in order to quote that, you are going to say the ecologist wrote, or the author wrote, and then in quotation marks, the experience was a once-in-a-lifetime thrill. And you can see that done for you right there. You can also use the words that or as to introduce someone else's quotation, and there's an example of that right below too. You could write it as, the ecologist or the author wrote that, and then the quotation marks, the experience was a once-in-a-lifetime thrill. For numbers 1 through 5, it says complete each sentence with a quoted phrase or sentence taken from the direct quotation that follows it. So it is actually giving you the direct quotation that you're going to write right after the sentence. Okay? So for number 1, it says the cougar might be called an antisocial animal, comma, and then you have to write in the quotation, the cougar is a solitary diner preferring to eat alone. And you can write a piece of that, or you can write the whole quotation. So you may choose to write, the cougar might be called an antisocial animal because, and then you could quote, it is a solitary diner preferring to eat alone. You don't have to repeat the cougar is again because you're talking about the cougar. You could, but it's not a necessity. You still have to put quotes around whatever direct quotation you take out of that piece. So you can go ahead and work on 2, 3, 4, and 5 on your own, adding in the information from the quotation and adding either all of it or a piece of it, as long as you include all of the non-repeated information. So, for example, on number 1, you didn't have to write the cougar again because it's already in the beginning of that sentence. After you've finished this, you can go ahead and take a picture of your work, upload it, attach it to the assignment, and turn it in on Teams. Thank you.